Good morning, Oklahoma. Welcome to Cow-Calf Corner. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of the stuff we need to have on hand as we go into calving season. As we take a look at winter and spring calving season, one of the things we get into is we're more likely to be calving in inclement weather and have some environmental stress on those cows. And so, well before we start calving, we want to make sure that we got all the equipment on hand and that everything's in good working order, whether it's our calf puller, whether it's just knowing where our OB chains are, knowing that our squeeze chute is working. But one of the important things that we sometimes don't think of is the importance of having multiple packets of colostrum on hand as we go into calving season. Now, as we think about what colostrum is, we often refer to it as first milk. It's actually not milk, as it is this thing that comes out of the cow that is full of something called immunoglobulins. I always have my cow-calf class practice saying that term. We abbreviate it as IG, but immunoglobulins are the key ingredient in that first milk from a cow that gives the newborn calf passive immunity. And we think about this process and the way it works. Typically, a newborn calf should be up, walking, and have nursed within an hour of being born. And in that time, actually ingested that colostrum. We've got, if we think about the digestive system of a baby calf, we've got something in here called an esophageal groove. It permits that milk or colostrum to go straight to the small intestine. Initially, when that baby calf is born, the small intestine gut wall is very porous. It permits that colostrum to get right into the bloodstream, and those immunoglobulins to do their thing to give that calf passive immunity. So when we say we need to have colostrum on hand, if we're ever in question about whether or not a calf has gotten up and nursed, it is a good idea to get a dose of colostrum in them. What is an effective dose? Typically on about an 80-pound calf, about 2 quarts or half a gallon of colostrum is what we would need. We're typically thinking about 5 to 6% of that newborn calf's body weight would be an effective dose. If we are looking at where we can get colostrum, we can actually collect colostrum from fresh cows, potentially get some from a dairy. There are commercially available colostrum replacers that are effective, and we know we need to get the right strength, something over a 100 milligram concentration. Under that, we would think of as a colostrum supplement. Over 100 milligram concentration is going to be a colostrum replacer. Now, if we've actually got fresh colostrum, putting that in Ziploc freezer bags and storing it flat makes it easier to thaw. When we think about that thawing process, it is better to put it in about 122 degree Fahrenheit water bath and let it warm to the appropriate temperature for about an hour than any other means of warming it up. If we get too aggressive in trying to thaw that frozen colostrum with like a microwave oven, we're potentially going to kill off the immunoglobulins themselves. If we heat it more intensely, again, we potentially do damage to the very thing that's in it that gives us that passive immunity. And typically the most effective way to get it in a newborn calf is going to be to let them nurse it or just use a drench tube to get that straight to where it needs to be. And typically we say the sooner we can get that done after they're born, the better, because that gut wall does begin to close off and be not as porous. But if we're going to do it, if we're in question, a first dose as soon as we can, maybe a second dose even 12 hours later is a good management tip.